Hi everyone, welcome to the Platinum Girls Celebrity Show where I give love advice to the stars and the everyday woman. I am your host, Vanessa Taylor. Thank you so much for watching. So for those of you who have been keeping up, you know that I am on my third week episode at this point, which is great. Still very excited about all of this. But I was giving a little bit of thought as to how I want to solidify the show format, and what I've come up with is that it might be helpful if I just give some general dating advice before I go into the celebrity discussion. Maybe that way it'll be most helpful to you all, or at least I hope it will be. So on that note, a question that I received from a woman in Saudi Arabia. How cool is that I received a message from someone that far away? I am so flattered that my work is going out there that far. But anyway, she asked me, Vanessa, how do I end a date? Now, what she meant by that was, how do I end a date in the rules sense with the man? All right, so for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a coach for the book The Rules, Time-Tested Secrets for Capturing the Heart of Mr. Right by Ellen Fine and Sherry Schneider. So what she's trying to ask me is, how do I end a date in the rules sense? Because under the rules, the woman is supposed to end the date first. The guy isn't supposed to look at her and just say, well, I really have to get going. At that point, it probably means it's really not going very well for you if the guy is not trying to hang on to every last minute that he can when he's hanging out with you. So one way that you can do it is you can use the server. There have been times that I've been out at a restaurant, and whenever the server has approached the table and asked if there's anything else that can be brought to the table, I'll simply say something like, oh no, just the check would be fine because I really have to go. After the server leaves, I'll look at the guy, say something casual like, oh, I really have a big day tomorrow, lots to do. Now, there are going to be instances where the server isn't always going to be the best about coming up to the table. I mean, we've all been there, right? You've been out at a restaurant and the server is just nowhere to be found. So if that's the case, you're going to have to grab the bull by the horns and actually tell the guy, I have to get going. Again, lots to do. So if the guy presses you on what it is that you have going on, be mysterious in your answer. Don't list off this whole litany of things that are on your to-do list. Don't even feel compelled to. Quite frankly, it's none of his business. I mean, he might be just asking because he's polite, but still keep it vague. Let him wonder if you have a date for the next day. And if he's really pressing, one of my favorite responses to a guy who's just asking, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? I always just say, oh, this and that. And one time a guy actually said to me, you do this and that a lot. And I was like, yeah, I really do this and that a lot. So I just don't feel compelled to give anybody an explanation. I have to get going, and that's that. So I hope that that's helpful for you all. Again, send me any questions that you might have. I'm happy to try to answer them. I'll pick out one of the questions that I think is the best or could be most helpful, and I'll go ahead and try to answer it during the show. So on to the celebrity stuff. There were two that I wanted to cover this week. The first one is Eva Mendes and Ryan Gosling, and the second is the Rumer Willis and Jayson Blair. So for those of you who read my blog, you know that Eva Mendes and Ryan Gosling are supposedly going through some troubles right now because she's becoming very jealous in her relationship. Apparently, she's been checking his phone, and whenever a text rolls in from somebody that she doesn't know, she assumes it's another woman. Now, the tabloid wasn't very clear as to whether she's actually approaching him, but I started to think a little bit further on this about, again, how this could apply to women in their everyday love lives. And what I started thinking about is when you accuse a guy of cheating and you're not entirely sure, it really smacks of low self-esteem, because in a way you're telling the man, I'm not making you happy. And that's not a message that you want to send to a guy. So if you really think that he might be cheating, my suggestion to you is really get your ducks in a row before you actually approach him on it, because you don't want to send a message of a low self-esteem. You don't want to send a message of distrust. So all in all, have it together before you put something like that on his doorstep. Now, I know that some of you are saying and probably thinking to yourself, well, there's no way that I'm going to get played. If I think that he's cheating on me, I'm going to make sure that I address it. And that's your call. If that's something that you really want to do, go ahead and do it. But my suggestion to you is that you do it only if you are absolutely 150% certain that you have everything that you need to actually approach him. Until then, you don't know if maybe you're just being a little bit crazy and a little bit jealous. And if that's the case, you don't want to show that to the guy, because he's going to start rethinking his entire relationship with you. So don't pop off all the time with accusations about cheating. Just be very calm, very cool. Of course he's happy with me. Why would he need to look anywhere else? And that's the type of attitude that you want to have. So don't be so insecure. Okay, so the second thing that I wanted to get to about Rumer Willis and Jayson Blair, this was a very small point, but I still thought it was relevant. So again, Tabloid wasn't entirely clear on why the two of them split. But what ended up happening is Jayson was talking to Us Magazine at one of his premiere shows about how much time that they spend together, how they're always hanging out and having dinner and really spending quality time and all this stuff. So I wasn't sure if maybe it's possible that Rumer got bored. Now, I know that most of you are thinking, well, typically it's the man who gets bored, but it can also be the woman. There have been times when, I've seen women who are rushing their relationships, and all of a sudden the guy's gone from let's go out to really fancy dinners and let's do really exciting things to let's make it a Netflix night. And the girl's like, oh, really? Is that where we are already? So I've known that sometimes women can get bored with that. So one of the reasons why what I'm encouraging women to follow the rules and to play hard to get as well is it's not just for the guy, it's also for you. It's also so that you don't get bored. Now, this isn't a point that I talk about very often because I'm more concerned with making sure that a guy is interested in the woman and that the woman is not getting hurt. But it's still equally relevant for dating. And so when you are, not responding to every text and when you're not going out on every single date that he asks you on for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The reason why is also helpful so that you don't get bored either. So just take that into account whenever you are getting that umpteenth text from him asking what you're up to and if he can see you. Again, slow and steady always wins the race. Don't ever forget that. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to do for this week. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But first, as I mentioned, I am a coach for the rules, so thought you guys should see their latest book. Gosh, I never get this right. Not Your Mother's Rules by Ellen Fine and Sherry Schneider. Pick this up. Very good stuff here. And then also my book on texting and dating, Text Love Power. Hopefully I'll get this right by next week. Anyway, it answers all those questions that you might have about texting and dating with men. And go ahead and keep up on my blog during the week at www.platinumgirlscelebrityblog. And thank you for joining me. I'm Vanessa Taylor. I'll see you next week. Bye.